as you are moving through new seasons of life, as you are coming up against new challenges and new things to figure out as a team and new ways of communicating on less time and less energy than you had before. We are talking about how important it is to have that foundation of emotional safety and how that can get rocky, that can get shifted through some of the big changes you're going through. And it might be something you have to rebuild again. And that foundation, though, literally touches every part of your life. It is if you think about the hierarchy of needs in a relationship, I would say that emotional safety is such a core piece because that really does impact how you talk to one another, how you make decisions together, how you do or don't reach out with bids for connection or bids for affection, or whether that looks like withdrawal, defensiveness, and resentment. So I think that's why this topic has come up for my clients and why I needed to record on this, because I think that this is something happening for a lot of people in the world, especially because we're in a really tumultuous time. As I'm recording this, it is January 10th, and we are in I shouldn't say the heat of, we are really in the midst of the LA fires right now that are impacting so many people and many people that we watch and trust and love. And we are on the cusp 10 days out from the inauguration of a president who I would believe for most of my listeners is a scary indication of where we're headed. And we want to feel emotionally safe in our homes, in our relationships, because a lot of us are feeling less emotionally safe in other buckets of our life. So if that speaks to you, calls to you, is true for you, then this episode really is for you. I have to start off by saying when I'm talking about emotional safety, I'm not talking about domestic violence, domestic abuse, physical, emotional, verbal abuse. That is not my qualification and not my area of expertise. So if you do feel like you're in a domestically abusive situation, please reach out to someone. And if you don't know who to reach out to, I'm happy to help you find someone qualified to talk about that. For the sake of this conversation, I'm assuming that you are in a place that is emotionally safe for you, is physically safe for you, but you know that things aren't as good as they can be, that you need more connection and closeness from your partner, that you need some of that growth in yourself, and that this is a way to look at how you can grow your relationship. Again, if you don't feel safe, please reach out to someone, or I'm happy to help you figure out who to reach out to. But for the sake of this conversation, we are discussing emotional safety as the assurance that you can express your feelings, thoughts, and vulnerabilities in your relationship without fear of judgment, rejection, or emotional harm. This is a foundation, like I said, that it is the ground, it is the foundation for being able to connect deeply and navigate challenges with trust. So as an example, we want to think about, like, how does this feel in our body and in our soul? Thinking of emotional safety as the difference between having a soft pillow to lay your head on versus a pillow that has sharp spikes. You're able to rest, you're able to exhale, you're able to, feel like you can let down your walls, versus that just not being a good place to relax. Obviously, if your pillow was spikes, you would be very stiff. You would be, tiptoeing around things. You would You'll be watching out for the one move that could cause harm. So let's say that you are coming home, as an example, from a tough day at work, and you say to your partner, I feel overwhelmed at work. Instead of support, they might dismiss you by saying, ugh, you always complain about work. Maybe you're just bad at handling stress. It doesn't feel good, safe, gentle, kind for you to come home and share that feeling if that's the kind of response you're getting. So you might withdraw from your partner because you feel judged or you feel unsupported. And so you're going to make less reaches out. I call these bids for connection. You're going to make less bids for connection with your partner over the way you feel if it feels rejected, judged, unsupported when you do that. Versus where we want to be is this safe place where you say something like, I feel overwhelmed at work. And your partner says, oh, yeah, that does sound really hard. Do you want to talk about it, or do you just want some quiet time to decompress? They're able to validate your feeling. They're able to give you an idea of how to address what you're feeling instead of just distancing from you. This is what we're talking about, right? When we're talking about feeling safe or unsafe. So why this matters, this is probably something that you're going to be like, yeah, of course, duh. I've seen this, or I've felt this, or I've experienced this, or my friend or my sister has been through something like this. It matters for that connection. When emotional safety exists, then partners feel seen and understood, which allows you to deepen your bond. So, for example, you get to share your dreams, you get to share your fears without that being a fear of ridicule that you have. This is super important for conflict resolution. So, emotional safety encourages having calm discussions rather than reactive arguments with your partner. So, for example, if one partner says, I feel ignored when you're on your phone during dinner, you want your partner to be able to listen without getting defensive. And this is something that happens with more emotional connection and emotional safety. And dun, da, 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 this is also highly connected to intimacy, physical intimacy, that emotional intimacy of just opening up and being vulnerable, feeling safe. Emotional safety creates a space where you can share insecurities, you can share your desires, you can share your needs, you can feel that emotional intimacy that then is a doorway to physical intimacy. But that is a place where we need to feel emotionally safe with our partners in order to get to that. So if you are not having sex as much as you want, or you feel like you and your partner just coexist and there's no, passion or flame or desire, yeah, part of that is just you haven't slept, your whole life has changed. Like, it's a lot. But also, if that's ongoing, we want to look at if you are emotionally safe to have that physical connection. This is a conversation that a lot of couples have to have, and they're not sure how to have it because it's weird. You see things from two different perspectives, but getting to the place where it's safe to have that conversation does lead to that intimacy, that connection, that just feeling that you could melt in a good way into your partner, not like melt to the other side of the bed away from your partner. So that emotional safety allows you to grow closer. So then you can handle the conversations with care, you can strengthen the relationship, you can feel like you have a voice, and you can connect physically again because you have that foundation for things. I just feel like I have to pause there because I'm thinking about how many times I've gotten to have this conversation with my clients together, facilitating it for them, helping them see their partner's perspective and learn how to make it emotionally safe to open up physically again. That was kind of a tangent, but I think it was probably for one of you who needed to hear it. When we are working towards emotional safety, what we're working towards is trust. So consistent actions that build reliability. We want to be able to rely on our partner. We want to be able to trust their word and their intention and not have to keep an extra tab in our brains open and worrying about it. We need empathy. So we need to feel understood and validated. We need to know that even if our partner isn't having the exact same experience or isn't seeing things from the exact same point of view, that they're going to hold empathy. They're going to hold space to validate and to understand more outside of their own experience. Emotional safety requires non-judgment. So just being able to get those things out without fear of judgment, without fear of criticism, without fear of our partner completely spiraling and creating, a whole new life plan for the next 5 years because of one thing that came out and was shared. We have to make sure that there is the skill and the understanding of conflict management. So a lot of the work that I do with couples is getting into the nitty-gritty of their conflict, of their arguments, and figuring out where it becomes productive to unproductive. So where they were working towards something, now it's just going back and forth at each other, or stonewalling or ignoring, or nagging at things. And this is because not many people have the kind of understanding and skills for all of this conflict management. We're not taught it in school, usually. We aren't prepared for how to be in conflict and do it in a respectful, productive, caring way, and be able to heal things when there is hurt. This is something that often needs practiced and even needs taught and modeled and facilitated. But if you don't come into that as two people who have that, building better conflict management is going to be so key for that foundation of emotional safety. And the barriers that we have, I say this to validate that this isn't that you're a bad match for each other. This isn't that you're bad people. It's not that you're a bad wife or a bad husband. It's that there are a lot of barriers to emotional safety when we don't have great sleep, when we don't have predictable patterns in our life, when we don't have great self-image and confidence in who we are, when we don't have the support outside that we deserve. It can be easy to slip into some of these patterns. So I want you to be able to identify when these things are happening and when it's time to talk about it, get support, dig into it, put some of your energy and time, which I know is already very limited, but into the relationship so that you can work together and keep growing. These barriers are criticism or defensiveness, which, my goodness, it is a big deal to be raising little humans. And we can slip into patterns of criticizing our partners because we're scared of doing it wrong. And so when we're scared of doing it wrong, we are on edge. We are going to criticize things, or we want to have some kind of control. And when they feel out of our control, they feel wrong. And this can make it really hard to have that connection and that safety that you're wanting in your relationship. So maybe that's a pattern that you're like, oh gosh, yeah, it was so easy to slip into that pattern because, again, little sleep, little consistency, little outside support, like you're going through some big changes in your life. And we want to cut back on the criticism. I'm going to focus on cutting back on the criticism because I know that that is causing my partner then to be defensive. And then when my partner is defensive, I feel hurt. And then when I feel hurt, I criticize. And then when I criticize, they feel defensive. You see that this creates a pattern that just keeps going and it digs in a little deeper and a little deeper until you feel like you're just completely have a chasm between you. So guess what? We get to break patterns. And if you're identifying that criticism and defensiveness is what's making it hard for you to have that kind of emotional safety and connection in your relationship, I invite you to say, not this sucks or, oh, I can't believe that I've been like that, but to say, I'm so glad that I am so cool that I identified this pattern. And when I identify patterns, I get to change it. So this is really cool and exciting. I just find that that makes changes a lot more fun than the criticizing ourselves and being hard on ourselves. So again, I invite you to say, how cool? How cool am I? I identified this pattern. Hell yeah. Now I get to do something about it. Couple other barriers, lack of active listening. So if you and your partner are talking kind of at each other, adjacent to each other, but not really talking with each other, uh, you're not feeling like you're heard or understood or seen. And that feels isolating. And when you feel isolated, you feel lonely. And when you feel lonely, you feel resentful toward your partner because how could you feel lonely when you have a partner and you exist in the same house, but you feel distant? So, active listening. If you're not doing it, don't criticize yourself. Say, hooray, I realize that this is causing pain in my relationship. And I'm not mad because I didn't know before, but now I know better and I'm going to do better and I'm going to break that pattern and I'm going to develop a better habit. This third one is avoidance of difficult conversations. People like to play like not arguing is great. It's awesome. It's the blissful life. Your relationship is on cloud nine. It might look really shiny on the outside, but on the inside, it's usually because there's just a lot of shit getting shoved down and not addressed and not taken care of. But also, having nasty conflict where you're mean to each other is also not. So the goal is a middle ground here. But the avoidance of difficult conversations is often a red flag that is saying there's a lot of shit being stuffed down that causes resentment, that causes half-heartedness, that causes disconnect. It's not the road you want to go down. So usually that's because you don't know how to have those conversations in a way that is safe and is productive and helps you be on the same team. And if you're that avoidance person, I see you. I love you. I invite you in. I invite you into my space to get some help and some healing on that. One area that I do want to address that is, again, not my field of expertise is past traumas or unresolved conflicts. So if this is you, please find a therapist or a social worker or just another licensed professional who can help you deal with trauma and just get the help that you need and you deserve. Like, take up the space to become a better person, a better parent. It is so silly, in my opinion, to not go after that. I also say that understanding because I don't want anyone to misunderstand me. I know that sometimes therapy and support services are a huge privilege to those who have the resource of time, the resource of oftentimes financials, insurance, and accessibility. So if you have those things, I plea of you to get that kind of support. Don't be living in your ego and not getting it. That's so silly. And if you're in a place where that is not available to you, I'm sorry that our systems are failing you, failing us. I won't get on a political tyrant today because I do want to give you some places to start. Obviously, I think that everyone benefits from coaching, from the support and a third-party perspective, and just what I'm able to offer you, not only as someone who's been through it, but as someone who has worked with many other couples, many other good people, successful people, loving, kind people who want to really establish a strong foundation and teamwork. And if you're not there yet, I do want to give you a place to start. So we're thinking about a couple of things. And really, this is going to be like what stood out to you as the area of disconnect that's having the biggest impact. The first one is practicing active listening. I like we've heard those words so many times, active listening, active listening. But are you giving your energy to your partner when you're talking to them? Or is your energy in a whole different field and you're just kind of coexisting? That doesn't mean that you have to be able and prepared to listen to everyone who wants to talk to you at all times. That is too much. But there needs to be spaces cut out and intentionally planned where you and your partner are active listening to each other. You're putting those things away. You're making eye contact. You're showing understanding. You're speaking back to them what you heard them say so that you are building understanding. We want to be seen and witnessed and heard. And doing that for our partners is a really, really important step that you can take if you have not done that lately. And hopefully your partner, provides that back for you. But this is going to foster more safety because it fosters connection, because it's putting down a wall that we do put up if we don't feel like someone is wanting to know us and wanting to see us and hear us. Okay, another thing that you could be working on is creating some more predictability. So this doesn't mean making your relationship really bland or boring, but it's about having some more consistency and reliability that builds trust. So this is following through with things more, maintaining more proactive communication where you're talking about what's coming up and how you work on those things together instead of only having conversations in the moment when we're in reaction mode. This looks like having ways that you connect that feel predictable and reliable, because what this does is it eliminates those feelings of uncertainty, and it creates more of an environment where your partner knows they can count on you. I'll make a hard pivot and talk about what this looks like in the sex world too. Um, Often, most of the time, actually, I've never heard it a different way. So I'm going to say high majority of the time, there is one partner that is ready and interested in sex before the other after having a baby. And one person has a higher sex drive and the other person's like, what the like, my hormones have completely depleted my sex drive. I don't even know what that is right now. This can be a real point of tension. And honestly, I do think that it also ties into the emotional safety because of feelings of worthiness and connection versus rejection. So if there's a partner that is wanting sex more frequently or wanting some more understanding of that, and one partner who is not quite there yet and reserved, this honestly has to be an open conversation and there has to be some kind of reliability. So if one person has said for 3 weeks, like maybe tomorrow, maybe tomorrow, maybe tomorrow, maybe tomorrow, there's going to be a lack of connection because there's not going to be a real predictability. There's not a consistent follow through. But maybe you say, you know what, like I'm willing to try once this week, or I'm willing to try, once this weekend or whatever it is. And you follow through with that. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm not saying like, do things that you aren't feeling safe to do, but closing that tab and giving the thought a bit of resolution or a place to land, or a place to pop it on the calendar or in the brain, can be really helpful and let down some of those walls. I think this is true in a whole other situation about, like, let's say that you want the trash taken out and your partner has said, oh yeah, I'll get it, I'll get it, I'll get it, and now things are just like overflowing, falling to the ground, it's stinky. You're going to feel like, oh, that was not reliable. I don't trust this person. And if I don't trust them on these small things, why would I trust them on bigger things or things with our children? And so now they're just not a reliable person, and it could be coming over something so small like the trash. It doesn't mean that the partner has to take care of the trash every time that it bothers you, but if they've agreed to take out the trash, they can do the respect give you the respect and reliability of saying, hey, I can't get to that right now, but I do plan on doing it at this time. I found that one of the best things we did in our relationship is communicate if there is something that we're not getting to right away, but we have it on our radar. We have taken the tab into our own brain and our partner can close the tab. This puts people in a little bit more of an open state with less defensiveness because they're not trying to keep something open and oversee. And okay, the next thing I'm going to share is focusing on showing gratitude, expressing appreciation, helping to foster the kind of home, the kind of energy in your home that is appreciative, that is showing gratitude. Because I don't know about you, but I can tend to be more likely to express my criticism or dissatisfaction than I am to acknowledge something that is routine or, I kind of forget that it's being taken care of, and to appreciate that frequently. There's things like, again, I'll just go back to taking out the trash. If it's done every day, I don't even notice it. I don't say, oh, hey, thanks for taking out the trash today. Hey, thanks for taking out the trash today. But if it's not done, I am definitely going to say, well, what happened? Like, what? Cool. Why isn't the trash out? I don't know. I'd probably come up with something a little bit better than that, but that's my tendency. And so that can breed a lot of disconnect. If you feel like the things you do are unseen, that does not feel good. That does not feel connected. So even if it feels like, oh, this is something that we do every day, try to show a little more appreciation. Try to show a little more gratitude. Just see if that changes your relationship, if that provides a new level of connection, because I think it can. And the last thing I'm going to share with you is repairing after conflict. So maybe you are in that cycle where conflict leaves you not talking or just huffing and puffing or being, really slighted for the next few days. You're wasting your time, right? Like there are so many people who would do anything to get a day with their partner back, and here we are, some of us, having an argument and then not talking to our partner for 3 or 4 days instead of like soaking up the fact that you have another day with your partner. Why would you not get to the best place you can with them? So maybe you're going to have conflict, but damn it, get good at repairing after conflict. Conflict is inevitable. And like I said earlier, I believe that it's actually healthy when you learn to do it in a productive, kind way. But how you handle it afterwards can make or break emotional safety. So if this is taking time away from your life together, like I want you to work on the repair after conflict. Take accountability. Reach out to your partner. Try to find a way to lean in. Even revisit the conversation by saying my favorite phrase, which is, babe, we are on the same team. Re-enter it with the lens of how you can work together. And if you do that in just one conflict this week, I really, really would want to hear about it because I think that could be a game changer. I probably need to stop talking now because I respect your time. I try to keep these podcasts so that you can listen to it while you're, doing 30 minutes of rocking the baby at night or driving to work or to an appointment or walking for a mile outside to help your mental health. There's a little plug for getting outside and helping your mental health. Whatever it is, I want this to be, a space where you can pop this in. Hopefully it changes your life in some way. It gives you a way to keep taking control of changing and improving your own life and let you know that, if you love your relationship, it's worth fighting for. And it's not a walk in the park. But I think personally, I would pick a walk through What's the opposite of the park, you guys? I would take a walk across a volcano with my partner instead of a walk in the park by myself. I got to work on that one. It wasn't very good. Bye, guys. Until next week.